Perfect. Perfect.
All right, everybody, what's going on? How y'all doing? Welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk. This show we cover the SWAC inside and out. I'm your tour guide around the SWAC Seawells coming at you. And of course, today we're going to talk about the Celebration Bowl that took place yesterday. The season started in Atlanta and it ended in Atlanta. Man, what a topsy-turvy, up and down, in and out, crazy season. But we finally finished and we have a Celebration Bowl champ, and it is the FAMU Rattlers, the Florida A&M University Rattlers picking up a 30-26 victory over the Howard Bison. And we're going to talk about that game in a few minutes. But before we do, as usual, you can hit those socials. Facebook is Swag Talk, Instagram, Swag Talk, Twitter, Swag Talk 76. Once you check those socials, we have our season recaps that are going to be dropping throughout the next month and a half or so. So keep checking those socials. You'll find, you check the socials, you'll see when each video is dropping. I like to announce them the night before. So I don't have a set schedule because of all the other shows and things that are going on. So just keep it locked on the socials, and you can find out when your favorite team season recap is coming at you. I do know that the Alcorn video will be dropping on Tuesday, so y'all make sure y'all catch that when it drops, and then we'll go down the line from there. We also have National Signing Day coverage coming at you Wednesday. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go live yet. I might just record a video and put it up, but I'll check the socials again. You'll find out if I'm gonna do a live show that night, or I might just drop a video that night. But we will have coverage of National Signing Day. We still have coaching searches going on. Grambling coach still out there. The TSU Fred McNair thing hasn't, as far as I know, hasn't been officially completed. So we're gonna cover those situations when they come to fruition. And if anything changes at Alcorn because of that situation, we're going to cover that too. So got a lot of coaching search news going on. We're going to be talking about the Legacy Bowl and any other All-Star game coming up. Once those rosters start to fully get finalized, we'll start talking about that, all of that. Of course, we'll be talking some basketball as we get deeper into the month. And we have Swag Smoke pretty much every Thursday, live, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, as we start to wrap up this 2023 and get ready for 2024. You can hit that subscribe button and become a subscriber of the channel. Definitely, we appreciate that. We are almost at 1,200 subscribers, so y'all help us continue that march. And we can't do any of this without y'all. So if y'all hit the subscribe button, it'll be greatly appreciated. Like the video, share, feel free to comment, and hit that join button to become a member. Man, we have some great perks. We have a members only group text chat. If you want to be a part of that, you can join the member. You can join either tier of the membership, and just hit me up, and I'll get you in that. We're also going to be dropping members only videos. Those are going to be some of the things that I like that I want to say that I don't really want to say out. Maybe a rant or something about something like that. So y'all keep it locked on there. Hit that members only. Hit that join button to become a member and be access to members only videos. Like I said, a live group chat. It is pretty spicy at times, and a lot of other great things will be coming your way. Or if you don't want to do that, you can hit the super thanks under a comment to show love to the show, or you can hit the Cash App $ Swag Talk. Anything will be appreciated. So let's go ahead and jump into this game, man. We're going to talk about the Celebration Bowl, and then we'll do our final HBCU top 10. And go down the line with that. So this was a game to me. I know a lot of people who may not, really follow FAMU that much this season. They saw FAMU fall behind, and they were surprised. FAMU, this has kind of been the way this team has played all season. I mean, they've had some games where they had tight leads early and pull away late. Or some games they've trailed and then they were able to right the ship. So this team is very resilient, and they kept their resiliency. And especially after the first quarter, when when Howard really got, kind of avalanched them early, with two early touchdowns. The Rattlers outscored them 30-12 after the first quarter. So they started to exert their will on defense. They didn't give up any more offensive points. After the first quarter, they gave up a safety and a field goal and a defensive touchdown, to the Bison. So FAMU's defense really locked things down after the first quarter, and the offense took a while to get going, and that's been the way this team has been for both stretches of the season. They've had those moments where the offense is clicking, but then they have those moments where they're not quite on on task, and it takes them a little while to get going. But Kelvin Dean stepped up big time in this game, man. Two huge touchdowns for him. Jeremy Musa had his ups and downs, but they stuck with it. Defense got them the ball back too late. Interceptions by the defense seal this game. So let's go ahead and look at how this game turned out. And like I said early, Howard really kind of avalanched the Rattlers early. They returned the opening kickoff. Ian Wheeler returned the opening kickoff for Howard, um, down to the 27-yard line of FAMU. That was a return of 63 yards and got the Bison started at the FAMU 27. Quentin Williams would complete a pass to Braylon Smith for 4 yards to get down to the 23. Then he would complete a pass to Casey Hawthorne for 15 yards to the FAMU 8, and then Jared Hunter would run from 8 yards out for a touchdown for the Bison to make the score of 7-0 after the extra point. That score came with 13:29 left in the first quarter. After that, FAMU would get the ball, and they would not. They would get the ball and pick up some yardage down to the Howard 46. Um, then Musa would get sacked, and then they would have to punt. Musa would get sacked and fumble. Down to the fumble would return down to the FAMU 37. Again, Howard would start in FAMU territory, and they would get a touchdown. Um, they would get a touchdown on a. Uh, they would end up scoring on this drive and going ahead on the Rattlers by a score of 14-0. And to some people at that point, it really looked like this game was in danger of being out of hand. Casey Hawthorne would run the ball from 3 yards out for the Bison to give them a touchdown, made the score 14-0. That came with 10:04 left in the first. FAMU would finally get on the board with 13:20 left in the second quarter when Terrell Jennings would run a 3-yard touchdown, extra point good. That kept a 9-play, 46-yard drive that took 5:13 off the clock. Rattlers trail 14-7. And then with 9:37 left in the second quarter, Darian Brokenberg would sack Musa for a safety to put the Bison up 16-7. And with 11 seconds left in the first half, Cameron Gillis will kick a 41-yard field goal to make the score 16-10, and that will be our halftime score. We will have a scoreless third quarter, and then FAMU will get two touchdowns from Kelvin Dean, one from 21 yards out on a pass from Musa to make score 17-16 after the extra point, and then he would catch a 53-yard pass from Musa, extra point good. That kept a 3-play, 70-yard drive that took 135 off the clock. That came with 10:58 left in the fourth, and that made the score 24-16 after the extra point. Howard would get back on the board with an Aaron Bickerton 40-yard field goal, capping a 6-play, 43-yard drive that took 3:05 off the clock. Rattlers led 24-19, and then with 7:14 left in the game, Carson Hinton would get a 27-yard pick six for the Bison, extra point good, put them back up 26-24. And then with 5:46 left in the game, Jamare Sharee would catch a 38-yard pass from Musa. 2-point conversion, no good, made the score 30-26. And that kept the 4-play, 66-yard drive. Looking at Howard's last couple possessions after that touchdown, they really could not get much going after that. Like I said, Musa would throw a touchdown. He would throw a touchdown to Shareed, and then the Bison would get the ball at the 45 after a really bad penalty would set them up. Um, they ended up throwing an interception. Quentin Williams threw an interception to Kendall Bowler at the FAMU 43. That would end the game. That would end that drive for them. He intercepted that ball at the 20. That would end that drive for them. FAMU would get the ball and punt, and then Howard would get the ball back with minute and 49 seconds left, and then on 1st and 10 from there, Williams would throw his second interception of the game. This time to Isaiah Major at the Howard 19. Then FAMU would run the clock out at that point and pick up the victory. So defensively, FAMU played a really solid game. You know, you look at the score and you see 26 points, you see 14 first quarter points. You know, you really would think that Howard really had their way with them in this game, but FAMU's defense really shut down Howard. The two touchdowns came from the 27-yard line and the 37-yard line of FAMU. So two very short fields for Howard gave them touchdowns to open the game up. They were unable to drive the ball down the field. And if you kind of look at their drive chart on the game, like I said, they started at the 27 of FAMU, they scored. They started at the 37 of FAMU, they scored. They started at their own 5, they punted. They started at 25, they punted. They started at 22, they punted. They started at their 49, they threw an interception. They started at their 39, they ran the half out. Third quarter, they started at their 25, they punted. They started at their 25 again, they had to punt. They started at their 40, they kicked a field goal. They started at the FAMU 45, they threw an interception. And then they started at their own 23 and threw an interception. So as you can see, they had they really had one sustained drive. And that was 6 plays for 43 yards. The other 2 drives were to combine 10 plays, 64 yards. So they not, you know, like I said, they had almost more yardage and plays on their field goal drive than they had on their 2 touchdown drives. So FAMU's defense really played a great game, regardless of what the score ended up. Howard finished with 11 first downs, 19 for Florida A&M, 81 yards on the ground for Howard, 2.9 yards per carry on 28 carries. They had 2 touchdowns. FAMU 68 yards on the ground, 35 carries, 1.9 yard per carry, and 1 touchdown. 106 through the air for Howard. They didn't cross 100 yards in through the air until that drive to kick that field goal on. So really, like I said, a really great defensive effort for FAMU. 14 of 27 for Howard, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. 289 for FAMU, 19 of 32, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You know, not to get lost in the shuffle, but Howard's defense played solid as well. They gave up more big plays, especially in the second half to FAMU. After the midpoint of the third quarter, FAMU started to kind of find some stride. But Howard never really got that going offensively, and they finished with 187 yards of offense on 55 plays, 3.4 yards per play. They didn't fumble the ball. They had 5 penalties for 60 yards, and FAMU finished with 357 yards of offense, 67 plays, 5.3 yards per play. They had 2 fumbles and lost 1, and they finished with 7 penalties for 68 yards. I think after half, you started to see the chippiness in this game come around. I think both teams started to realize what was at stake. You know, I mean, I know you already know what's at stake, but as the game started going on and the game was still close and it was anybody's game, I think you kind of started to see both teams start to feel that this was it. You know, this is what you work for. You know, you don't want to let that team snatch it from you. So you kind of got a little bit of chippiness here and there. Nothing too crazy, but it was there. FAMU finished with 46-yard average per punt. They punted twice for 93 yards. Howard punted 5 times for 210 yards for a 42-yard average. Time of possession, FAMU 32 minutes, 48 seconds. Howard 27-12. Howard 5 of 14 on third downs, 0 for 1 on fourth down. FAMU 4 of 12 on third down, and 1 of 2 on fourth down. Both teams got in the red zone multiple times. Howard was 2 of 2 in the red zone. FAMU was 1 for 3. 2 sacks for Howard, 1 for FAMU. Both teams made all 3 of the extra points, and both teams were 1 for 1 on field goals. Individually, Quentin Williams finished the night 14 of 27, 106 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He was sacked once. His longest play was 22 yards on the night. Musa 19 of 32, 289 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was sacked twice. His longest pass was 53 yards. The longest run in this game was 13 yards, so neither defense really gave up anything on the ground. Eden James led Howard with 12 carries for 55 yards. He averaged 4.6 yards per carry. He had that 13-yard run. Jared Hunter finished 9 for 24 and 1 touchdown. He averaged 2.7 yards per carry. Hawthorne 1 for 6 and a touchdown. 2 for 6 and a touchdown. Wheeler 1 for 2. Williams 3 for -5. Jennings led FAMU with 19 carries for 68 yards and 1 touchdown. He averaged 3.6 yards per carry. He had a 12-yard carry. That was the longest of the night for FAMU. Kelvin Dean 3 for 10. Averaged 3.3 yards per carry. Yant 4 for 5. Sheree 2 for 4. And Oxendine 1 for 1. Musa finished 3 for -17 due to sacks. Nashawn Hezekiah finished with 3 catches for 46 yards. Casey Hawthorne 3 for 31. Richie Ilaraza, Jared Hunter 4 for 10. Braylon Smith 1 for 4. Wayne Dennis 1 for 4. Dean led FAMU with 3 catches for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns. Young 3 for 78. He had a long of 44. Shareed 5 for 56 with a touchdown. He had a long of 38. Jennings 2 for 20. Riley 2 for 14. Dixon 1 for 12. Pruitt 1 for 11. Gassett 1 for 9. And Manigo 1 for 2. Defensively, Kenny Gallup led Howard with 7 tackles along with Robert Jones. He also had 7 tackles. Clayton Perrin had 6 tackles. Brokenburr had 5. Williams had 5. White had 5. Ian White had 5. Christian White had 5. James Stewart had 5. Jamel Stewart had 5. Tackles for loss. Ian White 1. Jevin Jackson 1. Christian White 1. Terrence Hollon 1. Carson Hinton 1. Brokenburr 1. Half tackle for loss went to Perrin and Stewart. They each had a half a tackle for loss apiece. Sacks were by Christian White and Brokenburr. White and Hinton both had forced fumbles. Recovery was by Hinton. Hinton also had an interception for a touchdown. So he had a really solid game in terms of being disruptive. And also Ian White had an interception. Jevin Jackson had a pass breakup. And Ian White had a quarterback hurry. FAMU was led in tackles by Johnny Chaney with 11. Deco Wilson had 7. Isaiah Major with 6. CA had 4. Smith had 4. Tackles for loss. CA had 1.5. Major 1. And Chaney a half a tackle for loss. CA each also had a sack. Forced fumbles, none. Interceptions went to Wilson, Major, and Bowler. Breakos, Edwards, Ash, and Morgan. Mentor and Hunt each had quarterback hurries. Dropping down to the special teams real quick. Bickerton had 5 punts for 210 yards, averaged 42 yards, long of 51. Had 150-plus yard punt. Will Hoyt punted twice for 93 yards, 46.5 yard average, long of 52. He had 150-plus yard punt. Returns, Wheeler had 3 kickoff returns for 124 yards with a long of 63. They didn't have a punt return. Eden James also had a kickoff return for 19 yards. And they had, Carson had an interception return for 27 yards. Shareed had 3 punt returns for 51 yards with a long of 48. Riley had 2 kickoff returns for 81 yards with a long of 41. And Jennings had 2 for 36 with a long of 28. Paul had 1 for 6. Interceptions, they had no return. Wilson had a 28-yard return on interceptions. Field goals, they both made 1. Bickerton made a 40-yarder, and Gillis made a 41-yarder. FAMU had 3 touchbacks on kickoffs, and Howard had none. So, like I said, this was a game where The score looks a lot closer than what this game was. Now, FAMU kind of started to try to put it away in the second half, but Howard, with that big pick six, kept this game a lot closer than what it was. Howard's defense kept them in this game. Their offense really didn't do much. They got them off to a quick start, but they couldn't sustain it. They couldn't move the ball. That Dark Cloud defense did what they had to do, and they won the Celebration Bowl for FAMU. This was a great season for the Rattlers. Um, SWAC championship for the first time ever. Celebration Bowl win for the first time ever. Only the second SWAC team to win a Celebration Bowl. So first time since 2016. So lot of history for the Rattlers in this season, and they finished my top 10 as the number one team as they have been since week 12, I believe. They've been hovering around that top spot basically all season. They took over that top spot in week 12, and they haven't let it go. They are the Black national champs. North Carolina Central finishes second. They moved up due to Howard losing. I kept Howard at three instead of two. Instead of four. I thought about jumping Alcorn over them, but I didn't think, even though their offense didn't play great, I thought they still played a good enough game to not drop that far after losing this game. Losing by 4 with your offense playing the way they did. Says a lot about your team. So I thought they were a really good team. They lost some tough games. They lost 6 games, and the bulk of their 6 losses were by single digits. So that's one of those things that you see a team who just loses a lot of close games. They really had a hard time winning those close ones, and to lose. Basically to lose 6 games, and 5 out of those 6 games were pretty close. That shows that you're a team who is always going to be in the mix, but it's something missing that's stopping you from getting over the hump. Let's see, 5 of their 6 losses came by 10 points or less. 4 of those came by 1 score or less. They lost to Northwestern by 3. They lost to Hampton by 1. They lost to South Carolina State by 3, and then they lost this game by 4. So just a lot of close losses. Now they had some close wins too. This was a team that kind of just survived throughout the season. They didn't really have a lot of huge wins. The biggest win they had, obviously in stature and margin, was the North Carolina Central victory, but they also beat Robert Morris by 25. They did beat Morehouse pretty badly, but that's a D2 opponent, so you kind of expect that. But this was a team who played a lot of close games, wins and losses, and I think their inability to finish those games kept their record from being a lot better than what it was on the eye test. But they finished at my number 3 spot. All corners at number 4. They finished 7-4. Bama State 5 at 7-4. Jackson State 6 at 7-4. Prairie View 7 at 6-6. Southern 8 at 6-5. Tennessee State 9 at 6-5. And Grambling finished number 10 at 5-6. My honorable mentions: Alabama A&M 5-6. South Carolina State 5-6. Hampton 5-6. And Morgan State at 4-6. So that's our final HBCU top 10, and we're going to continue to do this next year. I'm gonna try to do something basketball wise, but I'm gonna wait till conference play start and start there, because right now it's just a hodgepodge of non-conference games. You got teams playing all Power 5 teams. You got some teams playing all lower division teams, so we don't really know where these teams are. Once conference play get going, maybe like a couple weeks in the conference play, we'll start to kind of put something together there. So with that being said, man, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC signing out, and I'm gonna catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.